something really cool, and I'm totally breaking all this shit down. The podcast I've been listening to. So there's this one sciencey podcast. He's no woo. Doesn't even smoke weed kind of thing. Like he's pretty straight edge. He's a neuroscientist, and he's a neurosurgeon as well. And so he has this lab that they study neuroscience, and they were talking about ADHD. And I am fascinated with it now. I'm just like, oh my God, I never looked into the like symptoms or shit before, like what's going on. And what I've learned is the more that we understand a topic or about ourselves, the more compassion we can have for ourselves. Sometimes understanding needs to happen before the compassion can set in naturally. So it's almost like what comes in what order, right? Like what's our priority? Is it like we're freaking out? We're like, okay, I need to take a nap. Actually, I need to do this first and then take a nap. Or I need to eat and then do this. It's like we have to figure out like in what order are we going to do things. And sometimes it's just like, whatever, bye. So yeah, kind of like I'm fine-tuning that process by learning about all this stuff. So with ADHD, it is reliant on dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin sometimes, and then there's one more. But a lot of it focuses around focus and attention and how dopamine plays a role. And that's what Adderall and other drugs do. Like Ritalin and things like that. Ideally, you want something that is not time release, something that you can gauge and take when needed. So that's why Adderall works really well, is because it controls the dopamine levels in the brain. And we need dopamine to pay attention and to focus. And this also relates to, okay, so how can we control the dopamine levels in our body? People with ADHD, typically people who have trauma, are more in the stress level. So your cortisol levels also affect the adrenaline, which also affects like how much attention and focus that we have, and the dopamine level. So it's all interconnected. So when we have trauma and we're in a tense state, we're not getting the dopamine hit. It's more like a distress or attentive. And so that's why there's less dopamine in people who have ADHD, typically. And that's where like we can get overwhelmed easily. Dopamine can be adjusted via Adderall, breath work, eye blinking, so EMDR, rapid eye movement, or just controlling your blinking. That controls the physiological parts of it, which can tie into attention and focus. Like the longer you hold your eyes open, the more alert and awake you can be. And the more that you can step back and kind of see from your peripheral, the more that you can actually see peripherally your thoughts. So it's the physical act of looking in your peripheral, like having a focus point right here and then being like, okay, panoramic view. Wow, what's around me? What can I notice? That also helps kind of disconnect and detach a little bit from an intense emotion. It's when we fuse together with an emotion and a thought, and it's like, la, 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 la. We want to actually detach that. So having these little tiny knobs and buttons of just like breath work or blinking your eyes a little bit slower, can control our heart rate, which controls our dopamine. It's crazy. It's so cool. So I'm still kind of fine-tuning it, but that's the gist of it. And it was a very long podcast, so I tried to condense it. But yeah, there's a couple of things that like, it's all about controlling dopamine levels. And so there's multiple ways to control it. So I thought that was really cool. And our attention spikes about twice a day and at different rates for people. So that's why some organizational styles can work for others. And same with how we have different times. It's like some are night owls, some are morning owls. Some of us need a nap in the middle of the day, some of us don't. And how do we figure out, you know, what type we are and then what organizational style that we need? And like, what are the basics of trying it? So what was really cool is the blinking of the eyes. Like you can blink them faster and this will actually calm you down. It also, slows down time. This is crazy. Our perception of time can slow with our blinking rate. When we blink slower, we are more attentive. We have, time starts moving slower for us. So things slow down. Like when we're stressed, it seems like there's so much time when we're waiting. We're like, Arr. But when we're in a good mood and more relaxed and our heart rate is slower, so where'd the time go? Oh, I enjoyed that. That was fabulous. So that's the coolest part. Like we can also manipulate our perception of time. Bam. So you were talking about timelines and time travel and multiverse and oh my God, it's all like connecting. So I'm just really excited about this and thought I'd share that with you. That was long. Thank you for sitting with me. All right. I love you.